Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Let's talk about how to do the front wall now that you've made the back wall. A couple little things we're going to do to prepare is one of the things that's going to happen is we're actually going to build this wall with this bottom plate in, and then we'll cut that bottom plate out later when we actually have it in the structure. So you're going to build that with this piece going all the way across. So let's make sure we've got our nails, our header. Our header is already cut to the exact length. Okay, so we don't need to cut that down anymore. We're going to need a few studs, and we're going to need 2 of our longer pieces. So get those together, and of course our hammer, which is the regular old pencil, and I'll have to find that. And let's get started. Oh, forgot, you're also going to need this saw. All right, so let's start by getting 2 longer pieces. You're going to need full length because you don't have anything right now that you can cut from a smaller piece. So we're going to need 2 whole ones, and just like we did the last time, we're going to make these full length. I'm actually going to use my saw, and again, the camera angle makes it look like I've got it over there, but I got it perfectly lined up. And I'm going to line up that guy. Now, when you make your cuts, don't push very hard on the saw. I'm barely putting any pressure on it. Just a little tiny bit. Okay, and now I'll use my cutting board. All right, remember this thing? I've got it all full of stuff now. All right, and I'm going to use that to make sure I'm cutting, and I'm cutting nice and even and making sure that I'm square. I'm even looking at the blade, and I'm using the board to see that it's square. And again, that's basically the weight of the saw itself. Okay, we're going to save these 2 little guys because I can use them later for the trusses or for cripples or whatever. Okay, nice square ends. All right, cool. Now we got our top and bottom plates. Now what's different about the front wall than the back wall is that the top and the bottom plate will actually be different because the top plate is going to get a stud that meets the top here, but not the jack stud, and the bottom plate will get the jack stud also. So you got to make sure you're being kind of careful about that. So there's my bottom stud, but I'm not doing that jack stud on the top because it doesn't go to the top. Okay, and there's that guy. Same thing down here. Whoops, I didn't see, I already made a mistake and did the top plate that I shouldn't have. Okay, now I don't need to do anything to the ends because I know that those will line up with the ends. So might even want to make sure that I know that this is the top. Whoops, I tried to make an R. Okay, and this is the bottom. So I don't mess myself up if I set them down. All right. Now, here's how I like to do this is I know where this is, and I will actually build this way in the yard also if we're doing this for full scale, is put this header right there where it belongs, going from king stud to king stud. Let's see if I got that about right, or just a little bit. Okay, and I'm going to nail that together in kind of a zigzag pattern, maybe 6 or 7 nails. And just like in the real world, these nails for this are not structural. They don't do anything to provide any kind of any kind of strength. All they're doing is making sure that that top plate doesn't really move around and hold that thing in place. But the structural thing about nails is that, remember that they are designed to not move things sideways, right? They're not designed to hold things together, because even a human being with a hammer can pull out a nail straight. All right, so basically we're going to just kind of zigzag back and forth, maybe every 1.5 inches or so. Again, it doesn't need to be perfect. So I'm going to end up with about 7 nails. Okay. Now, another little thing about this that's true in the real world is that when we nail these in, we're going to nail at different angles. Like one will go that way and one will go that way. And that way it doesn't just easily pull off. The nails at different angles will hold it together more. And I improved my zigzag pattern a little bit with the other side. Let's make sure that I've got that looking good. Okay, looks pretty good. All right, now we're basically going to do the same thing that we did before with the front wall. We're getting our studs. You know, pick where you're going to work from. I think I'll work from this side. One of the things that we're going to do about this is, boy, it's hard to see that little mark. And again, it's kind of up to you as to whether you start the nail first or, boy, it's hard to, oh, that's because I have it flipped over. Okay. So my king stud is going to be down here where you guys can't see. King stud is going to be right about there. Okay. Oops, that's a little bit farther down than I wanted. Cool. All right. And I'll do the same thing on the other side. And again, we're going to put this thing together, and I will talk about the jack studs last. All right. So I'll start with my 2 king studs. And while you guys weren't looking, I actually made a mistake, and I put the king stud where the jack stud was supposed to go and had to fix that. All right, now up at the top, and this is how we really do this because we want things to be snug, and so we're going to let's put 3 nails, 2 in the front, and then when we flip it over, we'll do 2 in the middle on the other side. And we're going to put some nails in through while we're making sure that everything's snug and held down. We'll put a couple nails through there. And kind of angling them down so that they're easier to get in. Then we'll put 1 on the other side when we flip that over. So on each side, again, we're putting a nail kind of a little bit of a downward angle into the edge of the header. I've started to find that I like using the solid end of the pencil instead of the eraser. It makes it a little bit easier to come in. Okay, so now that we've got that, we're going to put the end studs on, and then we'll talk about the jack studs. All right, we're ready for the jack studs now. Now your jack studs are going to be cut out of the regular studs. So the way I like to do this is I'll set it up so that the end of the board is kind of just barely bumped up against the header over here. Now, if we were in the actual world, we draw a little line right there, which I think that's what I'll do anyway. So while I'm holding it this way, I draw a line right there, and that way we're not measuring anything. We're using what exists to cut that. Now, In the real world, I would not do this because I don't know that both sides are exactly the same. I would do one at a time, but here I think we can go ahead and get away with cutting both of these at the same time. Again, bring my cutting board out. And there we go. Make sure that these two ends are exactly lined up. I do that by touch, by feeling whether there's an edge there or not. And even again, before I cut, I'll make sure of that. Now I'm going to put my blade a little bit to the outside of that line because remember the line was kind of inside and of where the actual edge is. Again, very light pressure, make sure we're square. Plus, if you have a light touch, you won't tear it. Same thing happens to actual wood in the yard. If you go too much, you end up tearing out the wood. All right, now I've got my jack studs that should fit just about, oh, look at that. That fits perfect in there, that we can put in there. Now, normally we'd use a smaller nail, 8-penny nail, to hold these guys together. That's not really going to work in this context, so we're just going to nail them. We're going to nail them down here at the end. And I haven't thought about how to attach them up here at the top. Maybe we'll do a toenail. Okay, so let's put our nails in the end, down here in the ends. All right, let's go ahead and try a toenail. Toenailing is where you put a nail in through the face of a board and into the end of another board. So this is where we're going to go like this and put a nail in, I don't know, about 1/4 of an inch up or so, and we're going to stick it at a really steep angle like that to go into the other board. And we'll drive it in as steep of an angle as we can, and it's got to be enough so that it's not going to poke out the other side. And there's got to be enough space right between the edge of the board and the nail so that we're not just splitting the board. So this is a little tricky. Probably have to use this side of the pencil. And we're going to get it until, and I'm trying not to put enough pressure on there to get it in there. Now you're going to see it a little bit, and that's okay. Okay, as long as it's somewhat flush. So again, we'll try to do that one more time over here. Make sure I have enough space, maybe 1/4 of an inch-ish or so. Okay, we're going to go at a steep angle, or as steep as you can get it without. Let's see if that'll focus. It's not wanting to focus, but you can still see the approximate angle of that nail, as steep as we can get it, to make sure that it's not going to poke through the other side, but still, and not split. All right, pretty happy with that. Normally we'd do the other end too, but I like the way that worked. Okay, so now we've got 2 nails on each spot where there's a stud. Make sure you've got that zigzag pattern, or 2 nails per stud on the bottom. Again, this piece will get cut out later on, and we're looking good. All right, good job. Next step is start designing the sidewalls. Enjoy. See you next time.